In Lecture 6E, we will review some common tools for data movement across the network. We'll provide a high-level overview of multiple tools and any one individual tool that might be of interest to you or your research group. You're welcome to dig in further or have some experience with in the tutorials. Let's talk a little about Linux command line tools. A number of users will be using shell terminals for their scientific workflows. One of the most popular examples or tools for moving data from within the command line is SCP, or Secure Copy Protocol. This is a single-threaded protocol that encrypts your data transfer stream via SSH. It's possible to have separate individual connections. However, most users simply connect from one point to the other in a single stream. It's also important to know that SSH tends to be latency sensitive, and the encryption can put on a significant overhead in terms of the data transfer. For small files less than a gigabyte, it's pretty standard to use SCP, but understand as the distance between the endpoints gets further and further and the latency gets higher, SCP in general becomes slower and slower and larger files become impractical. It's also important to know that at slow speeds, you might have drops in the network. So you might transfer for hours and hours, but if that drop is interrupted, there's no way for SCP to, on its own, pick right back up where it left off, and you'll have to start over the process, which can be exceptionally frustrating. So SCP is good for small files or a couple of files. If you're doing large number of files or large files themselves, you're going to want to use some more advanced tools. Okay, another one that you very commonly utilize is FTP, or the File Transfer Protocol. More often you'll see is SFTP, again utilizing encryption and some of the SSH fundamental tool components. Similar to SCP, but implementations often include more file system functionality, such as with FTP. You can provide some flags and list the contents of a directory. You can also do anonymous authentication. You'll see this a lot more often with FTP than you would with trying to move data via secure copy. wget is also a popular command line tool. Typically, this is more so for just downloading than it would be for uploading. But if you have an FTP site or even more often an HTTP site, so if you're pulling something from a website, wget is a very popular option. Curl, similar to wget, probably a little more advanced. So for advanced users that want to use other protocols, Samba, SCP, and some more advanced SSL certificate and encryption capabilities. So I would say FTP, most common, wget, great for downloads, curl, an advanced version of wget. And the last one there typically would be more advanced, again, for system administrators that are wanting to do synchronization. So your files and directories between individual locations can be copied and synchronized. Not necessarily for moving, as in FTP and wget and curl, but if you want to synchronize files between your campuses on a nightly basis, or for backup or disaster preparedness reasons, you might want to look at rsync. Right, let's talk a little bit about GUI versions of some of these tools. We talked first at command line. The GUI FTP tools are very popular. Actually, we utilize SFTP tools. A couple of the most popular out there, at least on our campus, are FileZilla, CyberDuck, and MoabXterm, which is one of my favorites, which includes a GUI interface for doing file movements, and my terminal, and a number of extra tools that allow a more uniform and within one application access to my data and remote access to computational infrastructure around the globe.